One day after the economy took another gut punch with a much weaker than expected jobs report for September, President Biden on Saturday appealed for unity within the Democratic Party to get his infrastructure and social spending plans through to the American people.
We're all bound together by one of the most consequential campaigns and consequential first 8 months of a presidency in the history of this country. Beating back COVID-19 and now working toward historic investments in our infrastructure and in our people that's going to create millions of jobs and transform our nation to be able to outcompete anybody in the world. We're in a race for the 21st century, and the rest of the world is not waiting around.
Speaking virtually at the Democratic National Committee's fall meeting, Biden urged Democrats to unify and deliver ahead of next year's midterm elections.
My message is simple. We need to stay together and bound by the values that we hold as a party. Because here's the deal. We won 2020 as a unified party, and we're looked to 2022. As we do that, we need to stay unified. And the question the American people are going to be asking is whether we're helping them and their families in a real way. Do we understand what they're really going through? Can we deliver for them? As Democrats, we have to show that we do understand, that we are delivering for them, and that we are keeping our promises.
Democrats will have their hands full in coming months with continued internal debate over Biden's spending plans, a new December deadline to deal with the debt ceiling, and a similar deadline to keep the government funded, all with a narrow majority in the Senate and Republicans standing by ready to capitalize on any missteps.
Austria's conservative Chancellor Sebastian Kurz announced he was resigning Saturday to end a government crisis after his coalition partner said he was unfit for office because he has been placed under investigation on suspicion of corruption.
You have all over the last couple of days followed that there are criminal accusations against me. Those accusations stem back to the year 2016. They are not true, and I will be able to clear things up if I am very much certain.
The move by Kurz, who denies wrongdoing, satisfied the demand by his junior coalition partner, the Greens, that he go, even though he plans to stay on as his party's leader and become its top lawmaker in parliament, positions from which he can continue to influence government policy. Kurz has proposed that Foreign Minister Alexander Schallenberg, a career diplomat backed by Kurz's party, take over as chancellor, whom the Greens soon made clear they accepted. A star among Europe's conservatives, and known for his hard line on immigration, 35-year-old Kurz became one of the continent's youngest leaders when he took over as chancellor in 2017, at the head of a coalition with the far-right Freedom Party. Prosecutors said on Wednesday they had placed Kurz and 9 others under investigation on suspicion of breach of trust, corruption, and bribery with various levels of involvement. Starting in 2016, when Kurz was seeking to take over as party leader, prosecutors suspect the conservative-led finance ministry paid for advertisements in a newspaper in exchange for manipulated polling and coverage favorable to Kurz.
Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen responded Saturday to a vow made earlier in the day by Chinese President Xi Jinping, in which the Chinese leader said he wanted to see a, quote, peaceful reunification with Taiwan. Tsai and her office angrily shot back, calling on Beijing to abandon what it called coercion and reiterated that only the Taiwanese people could decide their future. Speaking to a large crowd in an airbase in northern Taiwan at a pre-National Day reception, Tsai vowed to uphold democracy.
We will continue to work hard to hold fast the front lines of democracy and freedom, strengthening collaboration with international partners through shared values and making more contributions to the world.
The presidential office also described Taiwan as a sovereign, independent country, not part of the People's Republic of China, and reiterated the clear rejection of China's offer of, quote, one country, two systems to rule the island. Tensions between Taipei and Beijing have ratcheted up recently. At the start of October, China's Air Force mounted 4 straight days of incursions into Taiwan's air defense identification zone. Tsai referred indirectly to the provocation in Saturday's speech.
We see the Air Force fighter jets in the sky, completely in control of safeguarding of our airspace. When our airspace is intruded, our pilots are always able to immediately take off to protect and safeguard our airspace.
The increased rhetoric comes ahead of October 10th. That's the date Taiwan marks as its National Day, the same day when the anti-imperial revolution began in China. President Tai is set to give a speech Sunday to mark the occasion.
The U.S. Justice Department on Friday said it will not pursue federal criminal civil rights charges against a Kenosha, Wisconsin police officer for his involvement in the August 2020 shooting of Jacob Blake. Blake, a black man, was shot by police several times in the back in front of his young children and was left paralyzed from the waist down. The incident sparked days of deadly protests against police brutality and racism in his hometown and across the United States. The department's decision comes 10 months after Wisconsin prosecutors cleared Rustin Chesky, the white police officer who shot Blake, with Kenosha County District Attorney Michael Gravely finding the officer was acting in self-defense. 2 other police officers on the scene that day returned to duty in January, after previously being placed on paid administrative leave. The Justice Department said Blake's family had already been told of the decision to decline to prosecute, which it made based on a lack of evidence to prove the officer willfully used excessive force. Blake's father, Jacob Blake Sr., told ABC News that he was disappointed by the DOJ's decision not to go forward.
The Blake family is demanding justice.
Iran's first president after the 1979 Islamic Revolution died on Saturday at the age of 88. According to his wife and children, he passed away in Paris following a long illness. Abu Hassan Bani-Sadr took office in February 1980 after winning an election the previous month with more than 75% of votes. Within months of being elected, Bani-Sadr was locked in a power struggle with radical clerical factions. He had tried to curb the remit by giving key jobs to liberal-minded laymen. Under the new Islamic Republic's constitution, former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini wielded the real power. The power struggle reached a crucial point in March 1981 when Bani-Sadr ordered security forces to arrest religious hardliners trying to disrupt a speech he was giving at Tehran University. This prompted calls for his dismissal and trial. In June 1981, with Khomeini's consent, Parliament impeached and dismissed Bani-Sadr. He fled to Paris 1 month later and spent the rest of his life there. He formed a loosely knit alliance to overthrow Khomeini in France, but it collapsed in May 1984 after a clash in ideas between the leadership. Despite disappointment and his long exile, Bani-Sadr said in a 2019 interview that he did not regret having been part of the revolution. He said Khomeini had betrayed the principles of the revolution after sweeping to power in 1979, adding this had left a very bitter taste among some of those who had returned with Khomeini to Tehran in triumph. In announcing the death, his family said on his website that Bani-Sadr had defended freedom in the face of new tyranny and oppression in the name of religion. The former president is survived by his wife, 2 daughters, and a son.